It is Graham here, living the dream in July 2022, and welcome to the Sandals Montego Bay. As you can see from the introduction card, this is a trip report, and it's a trip report on board Virgin Atlantic in their premium economy cabin from London Heathrow across to Montego Bay here in Jamaica. And in fact, the Montego Bay International Airport is only about 100 metres beyond the fence of this hotel, and we're seeing aircraft take off and land every half an hour or so here at the resort. And being of course an av geek, I'm really enjoying seeing the aircraft at such close quarters. Those of you who follow the channel on a regular basis are probably wondering why Fiona and I aren't travelling in business class and therefore the Virgin upper class on this particular journey across the Caribbean. Well, if you'd watched the introduction video a few weeks ago, you'd know that Fiona and I had to make a last minute change to this vacation to accommodate our son's graduation, and as a result of that small change of a few days, Virgin wanted an extraordinary amount of money to change the flight. So the bottom line, guys, is we downgraded from upper class to Virgin Premium Economy. And actually, it's not a bad thing to review Premium Economy on board Virgin Atlantic. We did it on board Delta a couple of months ago on a flight between Amsterdam and Detroit, and of course Atlanta back to Amsterdam. So it's a good idea to let's go and see what Virgin Atlantic have to offer in their Premium Economy cabin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are we?
London.
London. Where are we in London?
Heathrow.
Heathrow. The Premier Inn at T5. So for our non-British subscribers and viewers, what is Premier Inn supposed to be really famous for?
Hypnosis beds.
And what's so special about a hypnos bed?
Can't remember.
They're by royal appointment.
Alright.
So what does by royal appointment mean?
The Queen likes them.
It is a possibility that Her Majesty has a hypnos bed.
Doubt it.
But not this one.
No.
I think this bed has had rather a lot of action over the years because it's probably one of the most uncomfortable beds I've ever slept in a hotel. But anyway, it is what it is. Right, where are we going to today?
Jamaica, man.
Jamaica, man. Right, we're off to Montego Bay. Next stop is Heathrow Terminal 3, where we're checking in for Virgin Premium Economy. No upper class. Why? Whose fault is it?
Matthews.
Matthew. Nah.
Dr. Matthew.
Dr. Matthews. Right. Okay, off to Heathrow Terminal 3 for our Virgin Atlantic flight from Heathrow over to Montego Bay. Let's go. If you'd watched the last video, you would have followed Fiona and I on Tuesday evening, the 5th of July 2022, as we made a journey from Glasgow down to London Heathrow and then checked in at this very hotel, the Premier Inn at London Heathrow T5. And if you want to watch that video, go back one episode to video number 199, where Fiona and I made a trip report on board British Airways in the Club Europe cabin from Glasgow down to London Heathrow last night. And on that point, I cannot believe we're in video number 200 on the channel. When we started producing those videos, which were simple montages of photographs from holidays we'd taken since early 2008, we cannot believe where the channel has got to today. From videos that were only designed to share between family and friends, are regularly reviewed from only a couple of hundred to over 6,000. We therefore never really designed our channel to be anything more than a family and friends sharing platform. And while I accept my videos are not edited to anywhere near the same quality as Noel Phillips, Trek Trendy, or Non-Stop Dan, I really enjoy producing what effectively are simply video diaries from Fiona's and my adventures. Anyway, back to Wednesday morning and the 6th of July 2022. Fiona and I had just booked a taxi to pick us up from the Premier Inn here at London Heathrow T5 to take us across to London Heathrow Terminal 3, where we would be checking in for our Virgin Atlantic service all the way over to Montego Bay. We could of course have taken the shuttle bus from the hotel across to Terminal 3. However, from our experience back in October 2021 when we went across to the Sandals Grand Antigua, we found this Heathrow Airport hotel shuttle service to be extremely unreliable. So we were more than happy to pay the £25 that it would cost to take us across to the terminal this morning. Anyway, let's face it guys, it's a lot nicer to make the 10-minute journey from the hotel across to Terminal 3 on board a Mercedes E-Class rather than on board a bus. However, unlike our check-in back in October 2021, we would not be heading to the dedicated upper class check-in terminal because today Fiona and I were travelling premium economy. Air travel here in the UK had been making headline news for the last few weeks. And with all of that bad news, Fiona and I took the decision to check in more than 4 hours early for our flight to Montego Bay. And guys, I'm so glad we did. Because I want to set the scene for you. It is Wednesday, so it's midweek, and it's July the 6th, 2022, so the English schools have not yet broken up for the summer holidays. So you might expect the terminal this morning to be fairly quiet and our transit from check-in to security and then gate to be fairly smooth. So if you thought that, you would be very, very wrong, guys. So as we enter the dedicated Virgin and Delta wing here at London's Heathrow Terminal 3, you're about to see a scene of complete and utter chaos due to a lack of staff because of incompetencies by the British Airports Authority, the owner of London Heathrow, and made worse this morning because their baggage belt system had completely broken down. I might have said this was potentially the perfect storm, but the saving grace was that Virgin Atlantic had plenty of kiosks open and plenty of staff available to assist. This of course is in complete contrast to British Airways, which you will see during our return trip in 2 weeks' time. So watch out for that video and my complete rant at the outrageous poor behaviour of British Airways management, causing chaos due to their failures and poor decisions. In contrast, Virgin were pretty good. The only mild annoyance this morning was being directed to another part of the airport check-in for the Virgin Caribbean service. While if the British Airports Authority assistant had asked us what class we were travelling in, she would have directed us to a completely different area. However, Fiona and I did finally get redirected to the correct Virgin Premium Economy check-in counters, which there were plenty open. I think we were in line for between 20 and 30 minutes here at the Virgin Premium Economy check-in counters. The Virgin check-in agent that we met was absolutely lovely. She was very chatty and so apologetic for a problem that was clearly not of Virgin Atlantic's making. Poor management and underinvestment by the owners of London Heathrow Airport, of course British Airports Authority, are who we should hold the blame for the complete chaos and mayhem this morning. So after check-in, we had to take our bags down to the end of the terminal and to another check-in or bag drop facility where the conveyor belt was actually working. Again, really lovely staff in Virgin uniforms who were so apologetic about a problem not of their making. Anyway, with her bags now on the way to the aircraft, we hope it was time for Fiona and I to head to security. And challenge number 2 on this Wednesday morning. I should let you know that our awesome friends Michael and Donna travelled out to the Sandals Montego Bay 3 days earlier than us, so on Sunday morning. They were travelling in Virgin Upper Class and checked in at the dedicated Virgin Terminal here at Terminal 3, and it still took them nearly an hour to check in and get through security. I think for us, from check-in to getting through security took nearly 2 hours on this Wednesday morning. However, that was nothing to what we faced in Terminal 5 when we returned in 2 weeks' time. And when we finally did make it through security, it was time for a loo stop and then coffee. And while Fiona and I are chasing gold status in the Virgin Flying Club, we're not quite there yet, and that meant we'd be buying our coffee at Costa, or was it Cafe Nero? I can't remember, and then we'd be sitting down to enjoy it with thousands of other travelling public in London's Heathrow Terminal 3 departures. But before all of that, we had the obligatory duty-free shopping to do. You know guys, at the end of the day it wasn't too bad after all. Fiona and I did as advised and arrived at the airport more than 4 hours before our flight, meaning we weren't stressed at all with the 2 hours that it took us to check in and get through security, leaving us an hour to hang around departures before heading to the aircraft and boarding, which happens an hour before departure. And that's our advice for anyone travelling throughout the rest of 2022. If you want to save yourselves a lot of stress and anxiety, guys, get to the airport early, and I mean very early, at least 4 hours before your flight. When we arrived at the gate, it was pretty straightforward. They boarded upper class first, followed by premium economy. So there was no waiting at all for Fiona and I as we were directed to board the aircraft, which today was a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, which of course is my favourite aircraft to fly in these days. Apart from the stupid dimming window shades, I still prefer the Dreamliner to the Airbus A350 any day. But it is always disappointing to pass that upper class bar and have to turn right instead of left. And these would be our seats for the next 9 hours, 22 H and K. And the reason I'd chosen seats 22 rather than 21 and the bulkhead seats was due to the fact that there's more storage in the seat back pockets in the seats in front rather than the pocket in the bulkhead itself. And it's worth pointing out that Virgin Atlantic don't charge you to reserve your seat in both premium economy and upper class, and you even get a pre-departure Prosecco, something I didn't get on board British Airways in premium economy when I last flew back from Phoenix in 2019 and just before the pandemic. And you will also notice that mask restrictions were no longer in place for this flight between the UK and Jamaica, and this would be my view over the Rolls-Royce Trent engine for the next 9 hours. I should point out that later on this year, Fiona, Donna, Michael and I will be travelling on board the new British Airways Club World Suites from London across to JFK, and we'll be looking forward to reviewing that product here on the channel. However, at the time of editing this video, BA have already cancelled 2 of those flights on us, and on top of that they're looking for £400 for us to reserve seats. I think that is a disgraceful policy of BA's, and it's one of the reasons Fiona and I are thinking of completely changing our allegiance over to Virgin and Delta for our transatlantic flights anyway. Anyway, back to today's flight. We pushed back just over an hour late. The challenge being the complete lack of baggage handlers here at Heathrow Terminal 3, causing a delay to getting our bags out to the aircraft. But just after 1 PM British summertime, we were finally pushing back, and those Rolls-Royce Trent engines were roaring into life to power us across the Atlantic to Montego Bay. This afternoon we will be departing on runway 27 left here at London Heathrow Airport, which was the same runway we landed on last night when we travelled down from Glasgow on board British Airways. It was great to see Heathrow busy again, and while it can be frustrating waiting for aircraft to take off on either of the 2 runways here at London's busiest airport, I don't think any of us would want to go back to the dark days of the pandemic and of course the lockdown and our travel restricted, which to me is core to the freedoms that we all enjoy. So in my opinion, it's a joy to see all of these wonderful aircraft waiting at the threshold of runway 27 left, carrying thousands of passengers and cargo to all corners of our blue planet. However, it is time for me to shut up as we follow this Middle Eastern Airlines Airbus A330, no doubt en route to Beirut in the Lebanon. Our own transatlantic adventure about to begin as we make our way across to Jamaica in the beautiful crystal blue Caribbean Sea. Of course, Fiona and I would have preferred to have a lie flat bed on our journey across the Atlantic today, and that is what we had originally booked for our flight to Montego Bay. However, seeing our eldest graduate was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And to be honest guys, these premium economy seats weren't that bad. After all, it was a daytime flight. Whether I'll feel the same on the transatlantic overnight flight back to London in 2 weeks, well, you'll just have to wait and watch that video to find out. As you can see, Fiona had been served wine and I'd been served a Budweiser shortly after takeoff and before the meal service started. And notice guys, we were drinking out of proper glasses, none of that plastic rubbish here in Virgin Premium Economy. And for lunch, Fiona had opted for salmon while I had chosen the chicken lasagna. Again, no plastic, it was a proper ramekin dish. And while it wasn't as good as the Thai green curry that we'd had on board Delta in Premium Economy back in April, flying from Amsterdam Schiphol across to Detroit, Fiona seemed to enjoy her salmon and I certainly enjoyed the chicken lasagna. And yes guys, we're eating today's lunch with proper metal cutlery, or silverware as you would call it in the United States. And as you can see guys, there wasn't a lot left of my lunch, so thinking back, it can't have been that bad at all. And look guys, a decent coffee mug putting BA to shame without a doubt. And at some point later on in the flight, they were dishing out iced lollipops. And about an hour and a half before landing in Montego Bay, they served us sandwiches. From memory, on board the Virgin Atlantic service in upper class that we took between London Heathrow and Antigua back in October, I know that we were served a chicken burger prior to landing. But let's be clear guys, on board BA and Club World you wouldn't get sandwiches as good as this. But the great thing was that we were about to start our initial descent into Montego Bay.
Very warm welcome to Sangster International Airport, Montego Bay, where the local time is 6 minutes past 4 in the afternoon. While we taxi to the terminal, please keep your seatbelts fastened until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt signs. All of us need to remain seated and keep the odds and exits clear, so we'll return any items we've stowed for you as soon as we arrive.
That was a great flight on board Virgin Atlantic in the premium economy cabin from London Heathrow across to Montego Bay, Sangster International Airport. Fiona and I were completely blown away by the quality of Virgin's hard and soft product on board this Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner. We took this flight on Wednesday the 6th of April 2022, and therefore at the time of recording this video, British Airways didn't offer a service between the UK and Montego Bay. While Virgin were the only operator from London Heathrow, TUI were offering services between the UK and Montego Bay from Manchester, Birmingham and London Gatwick. So as we pull up to the gate here at Montego Bay Sangster International Airport, I wouldn't hesitate in recommending Virgin Atlantic And as I've said many times throughout this video, both Fiona and I were very impressed with their service. Here in the premium economy cabin, the crew were absolutely fantastic. They genuinely seemed happy to be at work, and they helped to make this 9-hour flight fly by, excuse the pun. In July 2022, the entry requirements for UK citizens to Jamaica was very straightforward. There was an option to complete an online entry form, which I did for both Fiona and I. However, we were advised to complete the handwritten form provided to us by Virgin Atlantic on the flight across to Jamaica this afternoon. As you can understand, I didn't film the immigration process here at Montego Bay, but I will say this, it was very quick, probably the quickest immigration I've ever been through in the last couple of years, and our bags were off the aircraft in no time at all, leaving Fiona and I to exit the baggage hall en route towards the Sandals Lounge. And as here, I'm going to bring this video to a close. So in the next episode, join Fiona and I as we take the incredibly long, no not really guys, only 10 minutes transfer from the Montego Bay International Airports to the Sandals Montego Bay. I hope you've enjoyed this trip report on board Virgin Atlantic in premium economy between London Heathrow and Montego Bay in Jamaica. So until that next video, thank you very much for watching.